All right, hello, and thank you for joining me, and welcome to my very first ServiceNow developer webisode. I hope you're excited. I'm ready to kick off an amazing series of videos about how to do great things in ServiceNow. And this is just a pilot series, so if you enjoy it, we'll make more. But for now, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Omar Martinez. I am a ServiceNow developer. I'm in sales. I'm a strategist for ITSM. Just all kinds of really fun stuff in terms of automation and digital transformation. And so I just wanted to share a little bit of passion that I have, and that's doing automation on the ServiceNow platform. And so without further ado, I want to just jump into something really cool and an idea that I had, and something that was presented by a customer that has to do with IT service management and incident management when there's an outage. So here's what we're going to take a look at. So usually when you have an outage inside the organization, a bunch of calls come in right at once. And the service desk is taking tons of calls. Maybe you're getting self-service portal calls, your self-service portal tickets, or emails are coming in, and there's a lot of reportings of the same issue. And in that cycle, there's a major incident management process that you might execute on. But what we find happening, and what the customer presented, is that what about those 10 tickets that were already created and not associated to the parent ticket when you finally decide that you found the ticket in which you're going to base your major incident management process on? Or you either way want to consolidate all the child tickets and roll them on up to a parent. And so I thought it was a really good use case and a good scenario to explore. And what I thought of and what I presented was, why don't you make something in the Flow Designer that would get all the tickets that were created today, reporting that same issue, and associate them to the primary parent. And maybe that can solve the issue. And also, easier said than done. I said, well, it might be easier done than not. So why don't we give it a shot? And so I brought that home with me and noodled on it. And now I just want to share what I came up with. And I really didn't spend a lot of time building this flow. It truly was kind of quick to come up with the logic. And let me share that with you. To explore the case a little bit further, I'm going to show you the tickets that I have here in this developer instance. Let me zoom in just a little bit. So we have several cases that were open today. 8/9 is the date. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at one of these cases here. And I'm going to try and find some attributes in which I can use to consolidate these other cases when I build the automation. And so looking in this ticket, I noticed the category is software, subcategory is email. There's no business service there. Unable to access a shared folder. So we're going to say that email is down, right? So this is more of what's going on. This is more of what everybody's reporting, right? Email is down. So I'm just going to stick with this scenario. And in order to build a flow, we need some kind of trigger to kick it all off. And I made this field really quickly, make parent. This is going to be the flag that we're going to drive some of this automation against. There's other triggers you can build against. I do not have the major incident management plugin activated, so there's no promote to or recommend as a major incident here. So we're going to go with a real simple flag, which is called make parent. So if we say make parent, and we save this record, some automation will kick in. And so let's take a look a little at some of that. Right before I move on to that, here in this related records tab, we notice that the parent incident is blank here. There's several other incidents that were created today. They're all blank. So if I go back, we'll see that these parent incidents, for all these are blank. So there's nothing in those parent incident fields. But we do see a commonality between the category and subcategory. There's several of those. So it looks like we have something in common there that we might be able to work with. Okay, I think that's good to get us started in the automation. So this is it kind of done, but I almost want to rebuild it from scratch. I'll use this one as a reference. I'm going to click on New Flow, and I'm just going to say automate child to parent relationship. And I might have titled it differently here. Associate child incident to parent. So this I call it automate child to parent relationship. So here we go. So if you haven't worked in Flow Designer, it's simple. It's easier than a lot of the other technologies out there to do business logic here. And we're always toting at ServiceNow that it's supposed to be a low code or no code environment to do a real powerful automation and business logic. So let's put it to the test. Let's see how far we can get with something like this. I'm going to add a trigger. And the trigger is going to be created or updated. And I'm going to do this against the incident table. And if you remember back on the incidents, I did say that the make parent flag was going to be the trigger point if it's checked. So I'm going to do the add a condition, and it has a make parent field there that I just built in 2 minutes earlier. Make parent changes to true, just for the sake of when we're working with the case here. If it changes to true, that's what we want to be the trigger. So I'm going to stop there. All right. So what happens when it's true? So when it's true, we probably want to do a records lookup. So this records lookup is really intended to go look for all the records with the specific criteria and pull them and get them ready for some kind of action. So I'm thinking what we want to do is give me all the records that were, opened today. I think that would be really good. That had the category. So we're going to go with the assumption that the service desk is well trained and they're categorizing the cases very similarly. That because this is an email outage, that the category is software and the subcategory is email. So, but I'm going to pull in a dynamic category here. So I'm pulling in the category off of the parent incident record, or the incident record that's going to be flagged. So I'm not going to have to hard code that. And the subcategory is the same subcategory. So I think you can keep up with where I'm headed here. It's at this point, it's going to go pull all the records that were open today. The category matches the category of whatever's here, and also the subcategory of whatever's here. If I checked this and saved it, it's going to use that record. It can be any number of records, but the point being is that I just kind of wanted to show you some of that here. So, all right. So we have that so far, and I discovered when running a test earlier that there's a business rule that prevents a recursion or a loop that could probably bring down the system if you let it. So I want to make sure that the number of my results, the case, is not the parent. So I can explain that more, but hopefully it's a little bit self-explanatory. You can't put a parent, you can't relate a ticket and its parent be itself, is what that business rule prevents from happening, which is smart. That's a good business rule. And I can probably pull that business rule up to take a look at it, but by adding this, you're actually filtering out a record from making itself its own parent. Okay, so now we have a set of records that we're pulling in. Open the day, the categories match, and it's not itself. All right, good. So now what do we want to do? We want to do some flow logic for each. So usually when you write a for each loop from scratch and you're hand typing it, it's good to know a lot of variables, and you have to do some logic and type it out. The cool thing is here is you can still use the for each power, but let it sound like business logic, because right now we need to do something with these records. For each of these records, what do we want to do? For each item in our results, so I'm just going to drag this in. So these are our results right here, these records. So I dropped it in there. For each one of those, I want to, is it called fields? Is it called update? Oops. Let me get this. I want to update the record in your hand. All right. So you want to update the record that's in hand. So I'm going to go with this. Hey. Oh wait, for each incident record down here, excuse me. There we go. So auto-populated the table for me, which is fantastic. For each of those, this is what I want to do. We already know the categories match, and we know the subcategories match, or they wouldn't have come back. But I think we're going to want to get this business service, and we're going to want it to be the same business service as the parent. So ideally, the parent case is going to have the business service populated, and when you save it, whatever you chose as the parent, hypothetically, you're going to get this populated here. And so when you finally, if you were to do this and save it, it will take that value and it will update all the records that it found. Okay. And then you're going to want to do the parent incident value and give it, populate it with the number of the parent ticket. So once you make this the parent, the other ones become children, which means in this related records area, this needs to be populated with the parent number. That's what we're looking to do. Okay, so we've done that. We set the business servers, we did the parent incident, and I think we want to add some work notes. Oops. Comments and work notes. Let's do work notes, and we'll say automated update by parent case, and maybe we can just drop that there. I'll put a little space. So we did that, and the last thing I think would be cool is, I think, why don't we go ahead and give all the tickets to the service desk, or we give all the tickets to the same team that the parent is. So I want to make, if the tickets are scattered across 5 or 6 teams and misassigned or something like that, it would be cool to kind of bring them all under one group. Now you're really consolidating, you're centralizing them, so things aren't so scattered. You're getting a handle on all that. So we've updated those records. Now something that's not going to be easy to test, but in today's episode, but I want to do as an enhancement, is to send a notification. So I would also not only update the records, but I would likely send an email and do something along the lines of, for each one of these records, I want to send it to whoever opened it, like the caller. So I'd probably do something like that. And then subject line, your case has been associated to parent, and then kind of do that parent thing. And we can elaborate on that, put some more put some more values, but it'd be kind of cool is that not only would you update those records, but you're going to send emails to all these callers and let them know that it's been associated. And maybe that would come in handy if you also resolved all those tickets, like set the values to resolve. So doing all kinds of stuff, right? So once you get your hands on the records and all this, I mean, the sky's the limit. You can do all this. So let me save this. All right, file saved successfully. So with that, I say we test it. And then let me compare it to what I made the first time. So I did this when parent changes to true, look up the records. I did a lot of the same logic here. And for each one of those, update the record, the business service, parent, and work notes. On my first one, I didn't, let me deactivate it. On the first one, I didn't send an email. And this one I am. So I was super curious to see how that goes. So let me test it before I activate it. So I used this one earlier. Let me see if it will execute appropriately without errors. So email has no recipients. So that was interesting. And I got an error here. So, all right, got some errors. So let me start by getting rid of this guy. You don't need too many errors at once. Let me save this. And I am kind of curious though, because I got some child incidents here. They did associate several of them. And if I go back into my incidents list, let's take a quick peek at these incidents. And you filter that out. So I didn't get my assignment group. And maybe I didn't have an assignment group in 9009, which I am going to need to look at. So that might have been part of it. And it didn't update my business service. So it looks like I'm going to have some things to do. So see, troubleshooting. So why don't we do some corrections here? Why don't we get this updated, and why don't we send this to the service desk? And let me save this record. And then let me rerun a test off the same guy here. Okay, very interesting. So it really seemed to have responded much better after I added some values in there. And then let's go here. Let me see if I need to reload this. Yeah, many more tickets. So now there's 7 associated to it. And let's go take a look at the incident list. And it looks like the parent incident now on all these records are appropriately populated. They've assigned them all to the service desk and populated the business service. So if you put a little more effort right behind it, you could potentially make this a very powerful automation when there's a lot of tickets coming in that are very similarly related and are associated to some parent, and you wanted to wrap them all up together really quickly. So I hope this was helpful. It was a lot of fun for me to try it out, and until next time, I appreciate you watching, and hope you have a good day. Thanks.